Captain America: Civil War. We both saw it last Saturday, and um, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it. This is our last topic, so if you want to drop off the stream or stop listening to the podcast, we do recommend it and go see it. And then come back and listen to us on SoundCloud or watch the YouTube clip. Um, but Civil War came out, and the reviews are generally good. I saw it. I think it's great. The Marvel movies, to me, are the most enjoyable movies that come out right now. I can't ask for anything more than what they're doing with these movies. They're fantastic. Civil War is no exception. You can't have everything in a movie. The only thing I would complain about is this is basically it does. Someone described it as Avengers 2.5, and it does feel that way a lot. This is an ensemble movie with basically Captain America as the main character. All the events are unfolding around him. So it's an ensemble movie, but it is still a direct sequel to Winter Soldier, because that continues the whole storyline with Bucky. And we finally get a resolution of sorts to that storyline. Everything that you're hearing about the movie is positive, or that's positive, is correct. Spider-Man's fantastic in it. Black Panther's good in it. It's just absolutely fantastic. You could probably have someone nitpick and go through how they didn't like the differences between the comic storyline and and what the movie event does give us. But at the same time, what you have to realize is that Civil War, and this is kind of an argument towards the ensemble feel of this movie. It doesn't feel too much like a Captain America movie. It feels like an Avengers movie with a little bit of a Captain America movie mixed in for good measure. And that's okay with me, honestly, because the Civil War storyline was not in the Captain America comics. It was the entire Marvel universe involved in this. It wasn't, and it focused on, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark being the head, heading the opposing sides in there. So I'm okay with it being an ensemble movie. You do unfortunately lose out on character development, and that's where this being a Captain America movie really comes into play, because most of the character development is between Captain America and Iron Man and their fight. But yeah, I'm still in gush mode if you want to take over for me.
Uh, yeah, no, just about everything you said, I completely agree with. For most movies or superhero movies, I have to go in there with low expectations just because there's been a few times where I go in and again I overhype myself and I think that it's going to be amazing, and then I go in and then it's good, but it's not as great as I imagined it. So I've been recently going into movies with just not an expectation that this is going to be bad, just I don't hype myself up for these movies anymore, so that when I watch them and it turns out they're good, I can enjoy it and be happy while watching it. And that was definitely the case with Captain America and Civil War. Um, it starts out just it's kind of calm, and it kind of looks like they're in a bit of a training session at first for some of the newer Avengers like Scarlet Witch and Falcon. And then it turns out that they're actually right in the middle of a mission waiting for this terrorist to come up. And then what started off kind of like calm and easy just immediately kicks off into just action, which isn't bad. And I liked it. Like, I don't like it when movies start off really slow and then it's like a slow build to the climax, like starting off kind of quiet and then just like bam, here's a fight, and then showing like in the movie they show that sometimes heroes don't always save everyone, and it turns out that an accident happens, and a lot of people die in the middle of taking down this terrorist, which realistically would happen in a scenario like that. Like, the heroes don't always win or don't always do a great job all the time. And I felt like that showed a really good example of that. Uh, and
Just
then
letting you know, we're having camera issues right now, so I think
awesome.
we lost your feed. So he's he's not asleep, even though he looks that way on camera.
Oh man, that's awesome. Now I'm immortalized. But yeah, just really excited for the movie. I feel like everything just kind of got a little bit spot on, just like good enough. There was a great story. There was a lot of character development between Captain America and Iron Man, but then there was also some character development for Scarlet Witch. She was just introduced in the last Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, so not a whole lot's known about her. So you kind of get a look at her view of how she sees herself and how she's afraid of who she is, which is normal for someone with her power. Like, I think she's one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. So it kind of shows that she's scared of herself, and there's some character development in that. You also get introduced to Black Panther, which I thought was one of the coolest superheroes in the movie. I loved his suit, completely made of vibranium, and I love it. I love superheroes that just fight with martial arts. Like, Batman is probably one of my favorite heroes in the DC universe, and to see someone like Black Panther come up in this movie, I actually got really excited. I love everything about it, and they did have a little bit of like character development. There wasn't a whole lot around him, which is good because he's going to get his own movie in a couple of years. So, or I think it was, is it 2017, 2018?
Uh, Probably, well, one of those two.
It's definitely coming out within the next 2 years. So lots more character development for him. And then we also got to see the new Spider-Man, which at first, while watching the movie, I was kind of just sitting there and I was one of those people that was just like, this is the third Spider-Man in the last 20 years that we've had. And I was kind of just like one of those people. But then the more that I paid attention to him, the more I realized that this seems to be where Peter Parker is at in his life. You know, he's not like this guy who looks like he's 35 playing a 16-year-old who's just super
Thank
uncomfortably awkward.
thank goodness we're
And
past
then,
that.
yeah, like, that's weird. But at the same time, like, he's not like boy band looking material model of Andrew Garfield. He's kind of just like he's there. He looks like an average teenage boy who has problems just like everyone else. He looks a little bit more socially awkward, but not so much. Like, he says that if he got the chance to, he'd want to play football. If you're socially awkward, your first thought going to high school isn't, you should try for the football team. So, there's a little bit of everything for this new Spider-Man. He's not some socially awkward, smart guy, but he's also not this really cool and also really smart guy that we got with Andrew Garfield. I think this Spider-Man might be the one that gets it right. And by the way, that suit looked awesome. I loved it. I loved that whenever like his character moved his eyes, that the eyes, the mask also moved. That was just something that was a cool small little detail that they threw in there, and I loved it.
Yeah. Um, Specifically with the Spider-Man character, I'm gonna get into a few gripes that I did have about the movie. The opening scene, I don't know if you noticed, but it just seemed like every second for a while, new camera angle, new camera angle, new camera angle, new camera angle, new camera angle. And it was just like it was so disorienting. And the way that Winter Soldier opened, it had that really awesome siege on the tanker out at sea. where it was kind of a stealth mission and stuff was happening and being crazy, but there was just some there was probably about a period of 5 to 10 seconds where it was just every second they cut to a new shot, and it was just so disorienting, and I just felt like it it was just a bad editing job in that part. That's my only complaint with the editing and the cinematography. Spider-Man, the gripe that I had with him was, and when I saw it and I noticed it, I was just kind of like, really? We're doing CG for that? He was literally just standing there talking, and it was a CG model of Spider-Man at one of the parts. I was just like, we couldn't do better than that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a nitpick, because other than that, the way they did Spider-Man, perfect. Oh, I'm so glad that he makes the webbing. He doesn't order it from Oscorp, and then no one
Yeah.
just puts two and two together. Come on. He doesn't do that. Don't complicate things. Don't put your own spin on this story. It's just better that he just makes it himself
Yeah.
and leave it at that. But yeah, Spider-Man was fantastic. I love the interaction between him and Ant-Man. Anytime Ant-Man's doing anything in this movie, it's awesome. Paul Rudd, they couldn't. I can't think of anyone else as a better casting of that character. I'm glad that they actually skipped Hank Pym being Ant-Man. His character in the comics is just he's a little bit too serious. He's kind of a buzzkill when it comes to things. Switching over to the second Ant-Man, Scott Lang, where he was a cat burglar and he kind of fell into this by accident. It fits so well into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It really does. It adds an element of comedy that you don't quite get from the other heroes, and the movie is also very funny at points. Even when watching the trailer, everything's like really serious, dramatic music, and everything is serious tone. You just think that the whole movie is going to be serious, and then you go into it and you don't realize like just how funny it can be at times. So yeah, it was a great movie. I cannot wait for I can't wait for Doctor Strange coming this fall, I believe, and then after that we get Thor Ragnarok. Um, and this was the first movie for Phase 3, I think. I think Ant-Man closed out Phase 2. Now we're in Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3, and everything's just going to go lead up to Infinity Wars, and I couldn't be happier.